Yo, what's going on, guys? Today is the biggest report that I've ever seen for an iOS version leak ahead of launch. We know like 25 additional new features and details, things that I didn't even have a clue would be coming this year, and this is it. Like, this is the defining report that shows us iOS 13 is not going to just be an iOS 12. It's not just bug fixes. It's not one or two major features. This is going to be the iOS 7 for like the next generation of iOS. Refresh user interfaces coming in so many parts of the operating system, new home screen, bedtime mode, sleep tracking. There's so much in here that I have to tell you guys about because quite frankly, it's pretty exciting. So if you guys are excited as well, drop a like down below. Always and seriously helps me out. And of course, if you're always up to date on the latest Apple news, hit subscribe and that would be incredible as well. Now let's go ahead and start talking about the gazillion features that just leaked. Well, according to Bloomberg, we're going to get all these new features, but iOS 13 is not going to slow down. In fact, there are claimed to be speed upgrades coming. Now, I want to be optimistic and say it would be speed upgrades over iOS 12. I just don't know if that would be possible considering how quick iOS 12 is already. I mean, maybe we see something again like last year where the first beta of iOS 13 is actually faster than the final public release version of, say, I don't know, iOS 12.3.1 or something. So that is incredibly good to hear. Also, Bloomberg says bugs are going to be minimized. It's not going to be a release filled with things that are going to frustrate us. It should be pretty clean right out of the gate. Now for the user interface. So iOS 13 we already know is going to get a refreshed home screen in some regard on the iPad, and there will also be some changes on the iPhone. We now know there's going to be a new animation not only when you go into multitasking, which is when you do this on your phone, just like press and hold on an iPhone 10 style device and you go there, that's going to be refreshed. There's also going to be a new animation for closing apps, which makes me believe that maybe the home screen will have a bigger refresh on the iPhone than I thought. That being said though, everything that this report tells us does not tell us how the new home screen is going to look. That's still the one big mystery that we don't know, really the only mystery we don't know about just yet. But we do know on the home screen with iOS 13 as well, this is new information, that the widget view is going to get refreshed as well. Should look a little bit cleaner and, quote, I think nicer, end quote, than it has looked. It does look a little bit weird when you have some wallpapers, and that is gonna be corrected. Now, dark mode is also coming to iOS 13, and I know that's not new, so I'm not counting that as like a new feature, but there is some new information about it. Today we learned it's going to have a black to dark grayish tint, but it's still sort of unclear to me whether or not that means completely true black, like the OLED screen of the iPhone XS doesn't light up, or if it's just going to be dark gray like we have in dark mode in this image right here as it's found on macOS Mojave. That is still up for debate, but we also heard today that just like low power mode, there's going to be a super easy, fun to enable toggle inside of Control Center for dark mode, so it's not going to be something like VPN where after 30 years you still have to go into the settings app just to turn it on, just to turn it off. You can now do that from Control Center with dark mode. Next up, I know my Android friends are going to roast me, and rightfully so if this comes, but Apple's finally working on integrating natively a swipe to spell keyboard. So if you've ever seen SwiftKey, I know there are a ton of other ones on the market, but SwiftKey is the big one where you can spell out words by swiping. Honestly, I feel like I can actually type pretty quick on those, but I've always found the third-party keyboard integration to be pretty glitchy in general on iOS. So if it comes natively, that would be cool, but I do want to make a big mention here, a very large asterisk. The article does say this is in internal testing right now and might not actually ship with iOS 13 right off the bat. So this is sort of a 50-50. I don't know if Apple will do it just because if they haven't done it for the past 12 iterations of iOS, what would make them finally do it now when the tech has been out for, well, I feel like it's been out since the original iPhone. Now we're getting into some of like the bigger changes in iOS 13. Here we're going to start with the Health app. So the Health app is getting refreshed. There's going to be some new pages in here, sort of like a new daily tab telling you, I would assume, like how many calories you've burned, maybe what you have left to go. There's also going to be integrated menstrual cycle tracking as well. And this one was pretty unique, but also inside of the Health app, there's going to be a new hearing health page. So I guess if you're listening to your music too loud or the ambient sound around you is too much, that actually could be cool. Like imagine you're somewhere where the noise is really loud and you don't have headphones, and your iPhone could be like, hey, right now, you're literally experiencing hearing damage right now that will affect you for the rest of your life. That could actually be pretty dope, and I don't know if that's how it's going to work. Next up for apps, a brand new Reminders app. Now, I don't want to take credit for calling this, even with the color scheme that my friend Andrew Vega actually designed this, so I'll leave his Twitter link down below. But Apple, guess what they're doing this year? Brightly colored, 4 different variation, like separated reminders. Let me read the 4 different categories to you. It's going to be tasks to be done today, all tasks, scheduled tasks, and flag tasks. Again, like The similarities between our app and theirs is going to be very apparent, but a new reminders app is a new reminders app, and that is something that we've desperately needed for so long. Do you guys see the reminders app? It looks like it's still on iOS 6. It's got like the skeuomorphic design. It just needs something different at this point. Now we're going to return to app upgrades in a second because I can't emphasize how much info we got today. But right now I want to tell you this one. You'll be able to use your iPad as a secondary display for your Mac. Obviously, this isn't going to work on Windows because Apple doesn't, they still don't get along with Windows that well. But you'll literally be able to take your iPad and use your Apple Pencil, interact with your iPad as if it was macOS running on your iPad because you're going to be using it as a second display for your Mac. Now, I would assume you'll have to be on the same Wi-Fi network, but that isn't totally clear. It would be wild if you could somehow VPN or connect to your Mac from afar. But if Apple can keep it low latency and make it really feel like you are using macOS right now, that could shake up the game. Now this one, I'm pretty sure is going to be extremely controversial, and I know if my parents did this to me, I would be quite upset, but I guess that's the point of parental controls in general. With screen time on iOS 13, Apple's taken that a step further of control over pretty much every aspect of what your kid does on their phone. Or I guess anyone, you could enable this on a sibling technically, I don't really know. With screen time on iOS 13, you are going to be able to limit who someone contacts during certain hours of the day. So let's say little Johnny is texting his, girlfriend, as they do in 6th grade, and they're up all late night texting. That ends now. When your kid installs iOS 13, Johnny doesn't get to have any friends anymore because his parents with iOS 13 will have the ability to lock it down to be able to only contact them after certain hours in the day. Next up, in books, there's going to be a new tracking system for when you're reading, and also a new reward system. I don't know if this is going to be against your friends or yourself, or maybe it is somewhere in between. That's usually how it goes. But you'll be able to track your books in a different way and hopefully compete with somebody else. And I don't know if these are real life rewards or if it's going to be like the Apple Watch app where you get a badge for completing a book. I feel like that's the direction Apple's going to go. Next up in iMessage, I feel like it's getting the first upgrade that it's gotten pretty much ever. Just like GroupMe or in WhatsApp, with iOS 13 and iMessage, you'll be able to set a public or private, depending on the privacy level you set, screen name and a profile picture, which is actually really, really great. I have so many contacts that I just don't have pictures of. This would solve that issue because then they would have their own profile picture that would just automatically load to your phone if they had that privacy setting set after texting them. Also in messages, I wrote WTF next to this one because why would someone even leak this feature? But there's going to be a new dedicated menu in iMessage just for stickers for animojis. So I guess if you did a funny face, you could just send that. Why was this leaked? Why is this relevant, and who is losing their job over this one? I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I'm all about leaks, but this seems a little bit too far. Moving on to everybody's favorite navigation system at iOS 6 with Maps. Honestly, Maps has gotten really good in recent history, and it kind of bugs me when people use Google Maps now because the Siri voice sounds so much better than Google. The new upgrades in iOS 13 will include a new way to group places that you go to. I guess if you went from the store to the mall to somewhere else, you could sort of create a grouping map, or honestly, maybe this would be useful for trips. You could create a route almost of where you want to go, and you could set a picture for that as well with iOS 13. Also, setting frequently traveled places is said to be easier in iOS 13. I never really found it to be that confusing before, but if you got easily confused by that, then in iOS 13, said to be easier. Now, I think 9to5Mac initially leaked this a couple weeks back, but Bloomberg echoes it today, so I just want to give proper credit where credit is due. But Find My Friends and Find My iPhone said to be merging into one brand new app, probably Find My Apple or something like that. They'll come up with some catchy marketing name. But inside this app, not only will you have Find My Friends and Find My iPhone functionality, you're also going to be able to track a new Apple Tile-like hardware device. You guys know Tile, right? It's that little thing that I made a video on it because they sent one to me many, many years ago now on YouTube, but you can track a phone or keys or a wallet. It's actually really handy, and Apple is said to be working on their own hardware version of this, which will be integrated as well directly into the app. Very interesting. Don't know if that will be coming at WWDC, but this new app will be. Inside the Mail app, one of the first ever rumors we heard for iOS 13 is that you will be able to mute specific conversations or email threads. That is still coming. We have 2 new features as well that are coming. You'll be able to block email or incoming email from certain contacts. And now there's going to be simple folder management, but we don't really know what that means. It is kind of confusing confusing on iOS though, so I'm looking forward to whatever the change could be. Now earlier in this video, I previewed sleep tracking was coming, and while that sort of exists with like the bedtime mode and clock right now, there is a much better version coming with iOS 13 built inside the bedtime section of the clock app. It's going to be more expansive, no idea exactly what metrics it will track, but Bloomberg does preview it could be integrated with a new Apple Watch built for sleep tracking in the future. So could it be Apple Watch Series 5 in 2019, maybe Series 6 in 2020? We don't know just yet, but even on your iPhone, there's said to be some expanded functionality. And just like with dark mode, I'm so happy Apple is doing this for a lot of stuff. There is going to be an easy to use toggle on, toggle off, toggle in Control Center. So you're not going to have to go into the clock app to enable it. If you want to turn bedtime mode on, I believe that enables do not disturb, dims the lock screen, and blocks all incoming notifications. That's what it says in the reports. You can do that easily. Inside the Home app, which I think is a horribly designed app, I have a really hard time using it, but unfortunately we're not actually hearing a design refresh on this one. We are going to get, though, better security camera integration with the ability to view previous recordings straight inside of the app. So if you like the Home app, it gets better with home security footage. If you don't like it like me, you're just going to be stuck using the same miserable app for the next year. The share sheet is getting a refresh as well, with a cleaner look and cleaner design overall. And at the very top, I believe there's going to be a new section, or at least somewhere in the share sheet, it's going to automatically suggest using artificial intelligence or machine learning who you might want to contact. Now in Safari, this would be insane, but a download manager could be in the works. This is something that I feel like should have been on the iPad as soon as Apple started calling it a computer. It's going to be directly integrated with a refreshed Files app that works better with third-party sources. It may be finally coming, but large bowl of rice, not just a grain. Very, very sizable asterisk on this. It's in testing, so it might not be coming. So I just wanted to put that out there. Like, don't get too excited. On the iPad, if you weren't convinced or sold on the UI interface changes coming, there is going to be a refreshed home screen. That is something that we've been hearing. There's also going to be a completely redesigned multitasking view, which is what I understand, again, where you like press and hold and then you see all your apps. There's also going to be the ability to, quote, cycle through different versions of the same app, end quote. I don't know if that means like literal version numbers, or if, I don't actually know what that means at all. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. And of course, all these changes, but cycle through, let me make sure I read that right. Yeah, cycle through different versions of the same app. Maybe that means like multiple page support. That is something we've heard, but I can't really confirm that. And there's also going to be better hearing aid support, so that's coming as well. And this doesn't technically count as iOS 13, but on the HomePod, Apple is working to integrate a multi-user mode on that. So it could be able to respond to my voice and my roommate's voice and hopefully suggest different things based on who's talking. I know my roommate likes a lot of Drake and I don't like a lot of Drake. So I'll be like, play something that I like, and all I hear is straight Drake, and I get angry. I meant it when I said, I hope you understand, we've never seen anything like this before. I've never seen this many features leak at the same time. It's totally out of this world, and I can't believe that we were lucky enough to get it. So snaps to Bloomberg, link is down below to read their full article. As always, I'll also leave some of 9to5Mac's recent work down there as well. They've been leaking a ton of stuff. Overall, iOS 13 is gonna be the biggest upgrade since iOS 7, and I cannot wait to cover it hands-on for you guys on June 3rd. That's all for now. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, catch you all in my next video.